Hey there guys, welcome back to 2Player Co-op. I'm Damo, this is Dan. Thanks for joining us again and tuning in to this episode, which is episode 6 for us.
It is episode 6. We're racing through.
Covering off episode 9 of Game of Thrones. So, we're here to talk about Dance of Dragons. We're going to be talking about all the things that did happen, all the things we wished had happened but didn't, and all the things that we're going to hope that will happen
final episode.
In that final episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Look, thanks for...
I'll kick us off. I've got this, Damien. Don't worry about it. Damo. Alright, so at the very start of this episode, we'll just sort of go through a bit in order. So if you haven't seen the episode, you should go watch it. We're going to dive deep.
And before, can we just say, look, this is an episode about what happened in the last episode of Game of Thrones. So spoiler alert, warnings, all that kind of stuff. I've had so much feedback about people saying, you put a spoiler alert in your Game of Thrones episode. It's like, okay guys, come on. We are reviewing each week. Like if you haven't figured it out,
do your homework.
Do your homework, guys. Come on. Up with the play. Come on.
Alright, so the first, big plot point that I want to talk about is Jon Snow arriving back at the Wall with the wildlings, and that moment where he basically arrives and he's like, I don't know if they're going to open the gate. I don't know.
A little, and that was a test of his leadership and sort of the willpower about, I left specific orders, I'm coming back with all these wildlings, and now it's going to be a test of, like, will Alistair Thorne will he follow through on my orders?
Yeah, and I thought it was actually really, like, the acting of Kit Harington in that scene was really great. Like, not to mention it was freezing, and he's sort of standing there, just the look on his face of, I don't know. I'm not going to turn around and look at anyone because I just need this gate to open.
You saw him take a big deep breath, and before he was like, okay, here goes. I'm going to stand out in front and just sort of show myself and make sure they can see that I'm here. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to lower myself to say, hey, dude, open up the door. So for him, it was a real test of leadership, and I agree with you. I think his acting is really cool. I've heard people sort of refer to him as like the Kristen Stewart. That vampire girl, Kristen Stewart. Who was
the Twilight.
The Twilight chick. She only has one face. She's like happy. She's sad. She's and people keep saying, oh, maybe he's the Kristen Stewart of Game of Thrones. Yeah. But I actually think he's a really good actor, and I like sort of how he's carried himself from the bastard of the North to Lord Commander of the Night's Watch.
Yeah. Well, he's hoping that we see much more of Jon Snow for many seasons to come.
That's a whole episode on itself.
I don't know.
Yeah, right, okay.
Is that too far?
No, it's not. No, it's not too far. I'm just so tempted to dive into that. Is he going to live? Is he going to die? Like with any character, any character on Game of Thrones, you can't invest too much.
We've got some deaths to go into on this episode as well. Anyway, so back at the Wall, Jon Snow he's back in Castle Black. The wildlings are filing through. Jon Snow's sort of like, I've got all the wildlings back. Hello, Ollie.
Hello, Ollie, the young fella who doesn't like him now because he's sort of taking the wildlings in.
Bleep bleep you.
Yeah. Hey, look. The funny thing is, for me, it doesn't make sense now that the Night's Watch are not in behind Jon Snow on this. I'll tell you why. Because there's a whole bunch of Night's Watch guys that are coming back with the wildlings who should be going out to the rest of the Night's Watch going,
guys,
excuse me, but fuck me.
Yeah.
He's right. There's a whole army of Hardhome telling the story of Hardhome. Army of the dead rising up and throwing themselves off a cliff, and all the dead wildlings who are fighting, then getting up. So the wildlings should be chattering about it. The Night's Watch who went with him to Hardhome should be going.
Cool, actually, that's a good point. That wasn't even touched on at all. I know there's a lot to get from these episodes. For me, I'd be like, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
For me, it just doesn't make sense that Jon, and I don't know what's going to happen in the next episode, but for me, it doesn't make sense that Jon should still have to try and convince the guys at the at Castle Black that this is a thing, because he should have enough voices doing that for him already.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
But
I agree.
I think that's the way it should play out. I don't think that's the way it's going to play out.
No, I think you're 100% right. So, I think there's still lots to play out, and you can sense with the rest of the people who are still at Castle Black the unhappiness and
the ominous quote from Alistair Thorne. You've got a good heart, Jon Snow. It's going to get us all killed.
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah, it was.
Was it a good impersonation?
It's pretty good.
I was kind of like Sean Connery there a little bit.
Wow, yeah, definitely. Close. Okay, so can I interest you in my oysters, clams, and cockles?
Okay. Worst line of the
Oysters,
episodes,
clams, and
and
cockles.
repeated so many times. Like so much innuendo to be taken from that, and just like a repetitive phrase that it keeps getting got on my nerves by the end of it. To be honest.
It's a little bit ridiculous because I think someone who walks around yelling out oysters, clams, and cockles, you are a new entity to that wharf. Do you know what I mean? That's not being I've been selling oysters here for years.
Yeah.
Like you're making a presence of yourself.
Yeah.
But whatever.
So Arya's obviously got a mission from Jaqen Hagar, sorry, to go out and kill the Thin Man. Fails. Completely sidelined, right? Distracted. She's on point to do it. She's got the poison. She's literally just like a dab of poison away from giving this guy his death.
Mission done.
And she's sidelined by spotting Meryn Trant, who, if you remember,
the Lannister boat.
The Lannister boat.
Yeah.
And then subsequently discovering Meryn Trant.
Yes.
Who, if you remember, is on her list of guys to tick off.
Yeah.
If it was me, I would have given the Thin Man the poisoned oyster and then gone off and following Meryn Trant. But hey.
And look, there was lots of moments. So she obviously followed Meryn Trant around the docks for a while, and there was lots of moments where you're like, God, is he going to recognise her? Is he going to know?
I thought he had, but maybe that her catching his eye was sort of explained a little later on when he's in the House of the Repute, going too old. Too old.
Let's talk about that. So
too old.
So Arya follows him to the House of the Repute, and basically he's like, I want some action for the evening.
I mean, if you're a soldier on leave, that's not an uncommon thing to happen. But the really disturbing thing was how he kept saying, that's too old.
That seemed like
really did not feel quite comfortable about that.
A disturbing early advert for Tinder.
Well, look, for me, swipe left.
I don't know if it's left or right.
For me, there's plenty of people who deserve a good gruesome death. He's one of them. We'll talk about some of the others later, but he's certainly some kind of devo.
Yeah.
I'm going to be quite happy. And you remember he slapped Sansa around at Joffrey's behest. He's kind of Joffrey's lapdog.
Exactly. He's been a dick for a while. Yeah. Like, do we want to talk about predictions there, or should we save that till the end?
Let's save it for the end.
Okay. So obviously that was a big point. So then we cut to Stannis.
Shame.
We believed in you, Stannis! We believed!
I was on the edge of my couch shouting at the TV. I had to drink. I had to pour a strong drink after this whole storyline arc. I'm still upset. Yeah. I don't know if I can speak lucidly about this. For shame, Stannis! For shame!
So I think the really interesting thing about this is, this idea of sacrificing Serene was pitched a few episodes ago, and it was kind of like, it kind of gave the impression that Stannis, like, how he had that great, like, father-daughter conversation. He's like, you're Princess Serene of House Baratheon.
You belong with me.
Blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of like, actually, Stannis has got her back.
And he's showing a little bit of heart and emotion. And for me, like, I was on Team Stannis for a while back now, but for me that was cool because I'm like, he's got a bit of a heart. He's a nice guy. He's just a tough, firm but fair, really firm, but sort of honourable kind of guy who had a legitimate stake of claim to the throne. And if you don't know what we're talking about, he burnt his daughter at the stake to appease the Lord of Flame.
Which was gruesome.
It was gruesome.
You heard her scream. She's like, she said to Stannis, or Dad, like, if there's anything I can do, I want to help. And
she quoted him back, I'm the Princess Serene of the House Baratheon, I'll do whatever you want to help. And he's like hugging her, looking sort of dead eyes, going,
actually,
look, what if there was something that I could do to become the rightful king, but it was a horrible thing? And she's like, whatever, Papa, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And this horrible scene of her walking through the army towards the stake, and she's holding the gift that Sir Davos.
That's right.
Gave
also, Davos sent away because he's a huge Serene fan.
Because Sir Davos was sent away because I think Stannis was like, I need to get rid of him so I can do this horrible
That's
thing.
right. Yeah. It was
truly horrible if you haven't seen it. It was one of the most horrible scenes, one of the most dramatic scenes. I was visibly shaken.
I think there's a few components to this, and I think, obviously there's the bit that Sir Davos was sent away, so he's been sent back to the wall to get more men and troops and supplies, and so I think he's not going to be happy to when he gets back, but that's what we're getting into next week. But I think the interesting thing about Stannis is, as a character, I think lots of people, you're over in one of two camps. You're like, I don't care about Stannis, or you're like, actually, I accept Stannis has got a bit of a claim to this throne, and he's the only one who's actually legitimately kind of going about it.
Yeah.
In the traditional, well, actually, that's not fair to say that because he's used magic and stuff, but I feel like
he's fallen into this weird thing of like, I'm semi 1 foot in this religious camp, one foot in this like. You're right. He's sort of like the only honourable guy, or the guy who's gone about this thing sort of honourably. He rode to the Night's Watch.
That's right. Yeah.
To the Night's Watch rescue. And for me, like I remember saying to you, like, you made us believe.
Yeah.
And he's gone and done this horrible, truly horrible thing. And it's Game of Thrones is I think I said a couple of episodes ago, Game of Thrones is a really great series for turning good guys into bad guys, and bad guys into semi-good guys. And Stannis is gone. I'm dead to me, Stannis. Interesting how his mother, his wife, cracked. She was the one to crack, right?
She made me mad.
See,
I've never liked the wife because she's always, I think, been anti-serene and
sour face.
Really sour face, pretty hard looking, and it annoyed me that at the final 13th hour, really, not the final hour, she's like, actually, no, and I was like, actually, put her on the fire as well.
Yeah, throw her on for good measure.
Yeah, you're not even King's Blood, but you're annoying, and you're coming into it late, like, your pleas are annoying.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole Stannis thing was and it ripped the internet up. Like on Twitter, people were just going nuts. There's this great meme where it showed Joffrey, and the meme was like, I'll never hate someone as much as and there's a photo of Ramsay Bolton. Actually, I'll never hate anyone as much as this guy. And there's a photo of Stannis. Like, yeah, nah, this guy can die a gruesome death.
Yeah, exactly. And that sums it up perfectly, doesn't it? Like, and that's sort of the journey Game of Thrones always takes you on, which is so good.
Crazy.
I'm
getting.
You're worked out. You're worked out. Look, I'm saying we've only got one episode left, but let's come back to that. Let's go to that next big moment of the show. So obviously back to good old Marine, where
finally
not a lot happens.
Last couple of episodes have finally seen a bit of movement. We had Tyrion last episode sort of finally hook up, metaphorically speaking, with Dany, and that gave me like some feeling of finally something's happening in this story arc. And then today, this episode, we see a lot of action happening and things moving forward even faster.
Yeah, so obviously, so we're at the final games, I guess, in the fighting pits, and Ser Jorah, who's gone back into the fighting pits when he was banished once again by Dany, reveals himself as Jorah Mormont, and when Dany sort of has this like look on her face, like, how many times can he defy me?
Yeah.
And then
and let the fight begin. So she's got a choice to make, like,
yes,
do I start this fight or not? She's like, no, fuck you, I'm going to start it.
Oh, and actually also there was some great banter between the guy that Daenerys is sort of engaged to.
His dad, El Huck or something like that. Yeah.
And what's the other guy?
Dario and Harris.
And you're talking about like the smaller guy always wins. No, the bigger guy always wins.
Oh, that was great. That was really good. Like, so his dad's like, my money is on the generally on the big guy.
Yeah.
And Dario's like, you don't
smaller
know.
Guy.
Yeah, because I actually do real fighting. And Dany pipes up and goes, do you actually know anything about fighting and combat? His dad. And just as she says that, the big guy goes, whoop, and chops the little guy's head off.
Exactly.
It was kind of a sweet.
It was awesome.
Bittersweet, a bit of justice for his dad, right?
Yeah, it definitely was. So but I guess the first big thing to sort of happen in the fighting pits was, so the match comes to an end, and Jorah's standing there in front of Dany, and basically ends up having a spear. And you think, oh god, like what's going on here? Like,
because I suspected when he originally got sent away and told, when him and Tyrion turned up,
Yeah.
and she sent him away again. I thought this time, there's no greater, rage than a Mormont scorned. Like, I thought he was actually going to, in my head, I was thinking he might try and kill Dany, right?
I think he loves Dany too much, but I could imagine him killing the other guy that he kind of, I guess his name Dario. Because he didn't like the fact that he was sleeping with Dany.
Yeah. Well, he's in love with it. You're right, he was in love with it. But so in my head, I was like, there's always a chance that he could turn and try and kill her.
Right.
And so when he threw the spear, I was like, here it is! And lo and behold, he's killing the sons of the Harpy that's crept up behind her.
About to kill Dany. And
Kill
then
Dany.
Dario looks up and everyone's putting on their Sons of the Harpy mask.
Yeah, like hundreds of people.
It was, I thought it was quite trippy. It was like, is he like dreaming this, or is he poisoned? Like, what's going on? But next minute, it's all on.
It's all on, and the funny thing is, earlier in that sort of scene, his dad sits down. He's a little bit late to the games, and she's like, "Oh, what are you up to?" And he's like, "I'm just taking care of a few details, making sure everything's in place." And so when the Sons of the Harpy rise up, I'm like, he is the Harpy. He's the Harpy guy. He's organising all this. But what happens?
So basically, he dies in the process of this. I've actually got a theory about who is actually the main leader of the Sons of the Harpy.
He gets killed by the Harpies, stabbed to death.
Yeah.
Who's your theory? What's your theory?
So you remember a few episodes ago, there was that chick who was in the brothel, and the Sons of Harpy come in, and she kind of sort of slid off to the side, and then I felt like she was a bit nudge, wink, wink.
She was also in the village market before Barristan got killed.
Yes, I think she's a leader of types, if not the leader.
Yeah.
Not that it really matters in this game. There's so many other things going on.
I think Harpies are traditionally female as well.
Makes sense.
So kind of that fits with your theory.
Go back to your World of Warcraft days when you would hunt Harpies in the Barrens.
Yeah, that's right. That's
because we're annoying if you got too many on you, if you're farming the Harpies.
Yeah. I always thought Hogger was the hardest boss at the lower levels.
Oh, yes, Hogger, he was a challenge. Nerd alert. Right, so basically...
His dad's dead.
Dario and even Tyrion's got a dagger out, helping fend off people.
And it's looking hopeless. Long story short on this thing, Jorah basically says, "Come with me," and she's like, looks at Dario. Dario's like, "Get the hell down onto the fighting pit with Jorah." Yeah. So Jorah's now sort of been tacitly redeemed. Dany said, I'm going to stick with you, and everyone gets down to the fighting pit, and they sort of form the circle.
Watch out for the grayscale. Ugh.
Oh yeah, you
wash hands after.
Yeah. So they're in a circle, and again we come to this whole thing about geez, the Unsullied die really easily.
Oh my god, I think they're hopeless. I've had many conversations with people about the Unsullied. The Unsullied, they need to be in a big battlefield, they need the open space, they need the numbers, but if there was ever a time for the Unsullied
to block shields and
bust through gates, form what they call a phalanx or a...
Phalanx,
this is the time, they had the space, they didn't have many numbers, but they should have been able to get in there and actually show us your power, because you guys are useless.
Where's the security around this?
There's none.
I feel like we haven't learned the lessons of the past.
We haven't learned it. Look, there was even a few, what are those Dothraki guys?
Yeah.
Even they were going down I know that they aren't riding around with the Khalasar anymore, but those guys went down like a sack of potatoes as well.
Actually, we haven't seen much of the Dothraki lately.
No, we haven't. Anyway, so eventually, the Harpies are sort of swarming in. There's only so many that obviously
it looks hopeless.
Can be held off.
Missandei and Dany start holding hands a little bit like this. We're going to spend the rest of the episode like this.
Are we?
No.
Okay, it's not.
We're both straight. I'm just clarifying. We're both straight.
I think there's too much of a pause. Right. So anyway, Dany basically is goes into summon mode.
Yep,
I summon my Pokemon Dragon, Drogon.
Drogon turns up.
Beast mode comes on in.
Starts burning
people.
Starts
burning people. So I think a couple of things happen here which I think are interesting. So one, I thought Dragon's fire was the worst type of fire, and you just melt people. But I felt like they were on a slow roast, to be honest.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that as long as it's napalm. As long as it's slow roast that you can't put out, it's going to stick to you even if you jump underwater. I'm happy with that.
Also, the other thing which I guess I hadn't really put a lot of thought into so far is like those dragons. Like I feel like the Sons of Hapi could have taken Drogo. Because I know that Drogo isn't fully growing, but like he had like a hole in his wing from a spear, and a couple of spears in him. I think they probably could have contained him.
And enough guys throwing spears and distracting him, and like getting him in the right flank, he turns to the right, getting him in the left flank, he turns to the left. Like enough numbers, they could have got him, because it showed to me that the dragons are certainly not infallible.
That's right.
Or invincible.
Yeah.
They have weaknesses, and the thing that saved Drogon's ass is that Denny ditched her mates, climbed up on the dragon's back, and flew off. And obviously the trick's going to be, I think you might even hear like earlier in the storyline in the series, and I think in the book certainly, let's talk about dragon armor and dragons like not flying sort of in the buff, so to speak. They have scale, like they have armor to protect them. I'm pretty sure that's in the lore. But obviously, like the strength of the dragon is not landing on the ground, burning people bit by bit. The strength of the dragon is flying through the air and roasting people at speed.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So huge episode in this
massive episode.
To start with, I was like, how can they top last week's Hardhome episode? And then like with the Princess Serene thing, and then basically with Danny and the dragon, I thought, oh, this is awesome.
So Hardhome was a big set piece.
Definitely.
Heavy on CGI, heavy on like the set piece battle and lots of numbers. This one for me topped it in terms of drama and that oh my god factor. So I am a reader of the books. We talked about how like if we're going to be talking on this on a YouTube channel about Game of Thrones, we'll talk about the TV series. So we're trying not to spoil it, but as a reader of the book, I was expecting the Red Wedding, and I laughed at the people who hadn't read the book. Ha! You didn't see it coming. It was awesome. The Red Wedding was awesome. This was for me. This was the book reader's Red Wedding. This episode.
Right.
So seeing Shireen.
It was a shock for
in
you.
terms of Shireen, right?
Yeah.
That for me was the. That was like my Red Wedding. It was shock value.
So before we talk about what we think our predictions are for the final episode, if you had to rate last week's episode or this week's episode, what would be your best one so far?
Hardhome was expected. So I knew what I was going to be getting when Hardhome, like I knew there was going to be a set piece battle. There had been talk about a big set piece battle and that it was coming, so I kind of knew that was going to happen. I was really excited about Hardhome. It was awesome. It was an amazing episode, and I find it really hard to split it.
Right.
For me, episode 9, A Dance of Dragons, had a bit of shock value and drama that I think makes these series really compelling. Definitely. So it wasn't as big in terms of CGI and battle and all that kind of stuff, and budget probably, but it was pretty friggin' big and I don't know, human emotion and
definitely. And because they started to sort of get into the some of the surprises, as you say, which people don't know about because the content doesn't exist. Yeah. So we're going to jump into basically what our predictions are for the final episode of season 5 of Game of Thrones. So if you don't want to hear any of our...
Can I say, I struggle. I don't know if I want to make a prediction. I think what I could stretch myself, because I think we made a prediction around, Ramsay, he's running off to portray his father, and clearly didn't do that.
Okay, I was going to say, so we're going to make some calls about something that might happen. If you saw our last week's episode, like most of those didn't come true, so you're not talking to some silly here. This is just like...
I'll tell you what, I think I could stretch myself to say what I'd like to see in the next episode.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but predictions. I think Jesus, that's so hard.
I think I don't even know where to begin.
Well, let's start chronologically. So we started with was it Oysters, clams, cockles?
Oh, let's talk about some of the main characters and what we think. Okay, so Oysters, clams, and cockles. Arya, I think she is going to obviously end up killing Meryn Trant in my view, and I think the way she's going to go about that is she is going to... So Meryn Trant said, I want another girl lined up for tomorrow night. She's going to be that other girl, and I don't know whether she's going to do that in a faceless way or whether she's going to do that just in a disguisey type way or just do it out of pure boldness. And I think she's going to kill him, but I think it's going to be a messy kill.
Right. in terms of oysters, clams, and cockles, I think you're right. I would like to see the season end with her almost triumphant. So she's killed Samira and Trant. Jack and Hagar says a girl is ready to be no one.
Yes.
So I want to see her star rising in that respect. And Mary and Trant dead on the floor. And I think you're right. I think like this episode 9, was great for setting things up.
Yeah.
And I think it's been set up to say, you know what, I'm going to pretend to be your next,
yes, whatever
entertainment
yes.
for the night.
Yes.
As distasteful as that might be, I'm going to pretend to be this person, and I'm going to poison you or stab you.
Do you think she's going to be able to kill him though? Like in a because what I don't know with Arya is I don't know how, like, we haven't really seen her really do any sword training since her dancing teacher.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. She might poison him, but I imagine if she tries to stab him or something like that, it's going to go very horribly. I think she'll win, but it's going to go horribly.
I would expect she's going to try and poison him. She's got the poison, she's got the means. She can bring it in as like, oh, I've got oysters before we get started. Do you want some oysters?
Yeah, that's right.
She buried his sword under some rocks or in cloth. And
needle.
That's right, she buried the needle. So I reckon it's poison.
Okay, good call. Okay, so obviously we've got, still sticking with the Starks, I guess, we've got
excuse me?
Sansa.
Yeah.
Now I don't know what's going to happen. I guess this kind of ties into whatever happens with Stannis, because I think, so Stannis has made this big sacrifice, obviously Princess Serene, so for him to get through he needs that snow to melt, and so for that requires him to attack Winterfell, and then I don't know what Sansa's role within that is, like,
So we have seen the trailer, like the next week on Game of Thrones, right? So we see that the snow starts to melt. I think you drew my attention to this. Sansa's standing there going, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die doing something while I've still got something left in me.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I think we did we talk last episode around, in the chaos of battle, Sansa's going to
kill Ramsay,
or Rick will kill Ramsay. I think I might have mentioned.
Yeah, something like that.
I think that's looking more likely.
I feel just so up in the air with Sansa at the moment, and I really want to like her as a character, but I feel like I don't still want to have any plans because I don't want to be disappointed again.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she could still be in this situation next season.
Yeah. So, okay, so where is who holds Winterfell at the end of this season?
Look, I don't know, like, so Stannis has got a lot of, like, Stannis has got a lot of men, right? And you saw that when back in Hardhome, you look back at those ships, and Stannis had thousands of ships.
Yeah.
But when you look at Stannis' army, they look beat down and rough as guts. And do they have the ability to take Winterfell? Like, is Jon gonna send help? Like, because for Jon to send help, like, he's breaking his oaths. Yeah.
It's kind of, maybe this starts tying in with our predictions for what happens at Castle Black. I think it's a lot to expect the wildlings to turn up next episode. Yeah. Because I think the logical thing is that if Jon gets this request for help, then I think the logical thing is for Jon to send the wildlings off to help Stannis.
I don't think they're gonna.
I don't think they're gonna make it in one episode.
I don't think they're gonna. I also don't think the wildlings are gonna want to. Like, you've promised us land to farm. We're not going to fight your battles, like, we don't even care. Yeah. Entirely true. But what I'm going to say is that I think that my earlier prediction or hope that Ramsay Bolton gets killed by Reek during the chaos of battle, I think either Reek or Sansa are going to do that. Yeah, and I think so. By the end of the episode, Winterfell will be in Stannis' hands. There, I said it. Prediction. Wow. A prediction made. It's going to be wrong. They're going to be wrong. They'll leave until season 6. It's a tough one. So the other big thing, I guess, to play out from what I understand will be, because the next episode is called Mother's Mercy. Okay. Yeah. I'm firm on this one. I've got a firm prediction. I said I wasn't going to make predictions. I made 2. I'm making 2.
You tell me yours first.
Okay, so I think obviously, so there's a couple of things that happen with Cersei where Cersei knows that if she pleads to the mother for mercy, then she doesn't have to stand trial for the crimes that she's committed. So I think she is going to plead mercy. With that comes obviously some, this is stuff that's been talked about well before the season started. She has, like, to plead mercy, you have to basically do this.
Confess your sins, do a bit of penance.
Walk naked, basically.
Well, it depends on the crime. Like, I believe that it's going to depend on the crime. Like, I think we saw in an earlier episode that a guy was doing a naked walk, right?
Yep.
And I think in the
that was for prostitution, wasn't it? Like, so that's not a major crime in the scheme of things.
But I do remember this High Sparrow saying, look, it depends on the nature of your crime. Like, some people will be a flogging, some people will be like something bigger. But you're absolutely right. Shall we? I kind of feel like this is getting into the spoiler alert.
Yeah, I think it's just that we know something's going to happen. We're going to go too deep into book stuff, I think, otherwise.
Yeah, I really want to.
Or you just want to finish it off? Like, look, you've got accusation, a warning.
Yeah, okay, so this is the book spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. This happens in the book, hasn't happened in the story yet. So if you don't want to know what potentially is going to happen, tune out and come back in about 30 seconds. I think Cersei's going to do her walk of shame. And I'm firm on it. I really hope, it was one of my predictions, and one of my hopes that this season will conclude with Cersei doing her walk of shame. That's where she gets stripped naked and told to walk from the septum to the gates of the Red Keep. Yeah. And she gets flogged and spit on and thrown shit at all the way through.
It really leaves a lot of unanswered questions for me, though, like in terms of next season, about, so obviously no one came to her aid. What is happening to the Lannisters? Like, I don't know, there's so many big questions, I think, going to be left behind. But I think there's two other people that are also, like, the High Sparrow has prisoner right now. Yeah,
Marjorie Tyrell and her brother Loras, right?
That's right. Like, what? Like, I don't even know if that's going to conclude this episode, to be honest.
I agree. I don't know. Excuse me, I got a bit of a cough. I don't think it will, and this is why, because Marjorie and Loras don't have the benefit of having that chat with the High Sparrow around.
That's right.
Well, it depends. If you plead the Mother's Mercy, you could be out of here in really quickly. If you don't plead the Mother's Mercy, you go through a whole trial. Marjorie and Loras Tyrell did not hear that when that conversation was going on. So this is Cersei going, okay, if I cop to this, I'll get out of here, and who cares? I can send my soldiers and kill this stupid High Septon later, High Sparrow later on. So I agree with you. I don't think Marjorie and Loras are going to be resolved this season. I think Cersei will be. I think Uncle Kevin will be waiting at the gates and
with a blanket.
with a blanket. And this is the thing. We're now in this story arc. I believe I'll need to go back and check. But I believe we're up to where the books are.
We are.
In this story arc, we're done. So whatever happens from here, from this season onwards with the Lannisters, uncharted territory if you're a book reader.
Definitely. So I think there's one other, I guess, or actually there's two other big groups at play. So I think obviously there's Dawn, and so Dawn sort of signalled in this episode just gone that they want a seat back on the council, and I think there's quite a bit of power in Dawn, but I don't quite know the role that they're going to play, or the alliance they're going to form.
This is a weird one for me because I think a lot of people on the internet have been like, so the Sand Snakes, I think there's 5 episodes where they do anything. 4 of those episodes they're sitting around in a camp, like just hanging out in the sand. And then one of those episodes they actually get into a fight and they get captured. Then this episode it's kind of like, oh, okay, by the way, we're leaving Dawn now.
Exactly.
Like, what was the point?
Yeah, I don't know.
So I think maybe this is just a setup for next season. The Dawn thing, I don't think it's going to be resolved.
Do you know what I did enjoy actually? Is I like the main guy from Dawn,
Prince Doran.
Yes, how he went into boss mode with that, like, kiss the ring.
Yeah. Your rebellion is at an end.
Yeah. I'm all about second chances, but I'm not about third.
That was a great line. And he made the Sand Snakes watch her bend the knee, so to speak, and kiss his ring, so to speak. And she was crying and tearful, and that was a perfect line, perfectly delivered.
Because I don't know, like I haven't read. So I haven't really read. I've read half of the 5th book and I haven't finished it. So is he paralysed? He
Yes.
Is he in a wheelchair? Because I feel like that hasn't really been made a big deal.
He is paralysed. Is it paralysation? I think he's got like sort of polio or something, like where it's crippled his lower half, or maybe it was paralysation. But you know, you're right. He is crippled. In sort of
like it's subtle, but I feel like it's like they haven't made a big deal about it.
Well, so the other thing they didn't make a big deal about is what the hell is Dawn to the Seven Kingdoms? In the book, I don't think it's necessarily spelled out, or I don't remember it being spelled out. And it certainly wasn't spelled out in the series, the TV series, until this episode. Like, Dawn's part of the kingdom. I thought Dawn was a country.
Right.
Because they talked about, like, there's so much animosity between, you know, the Red Keep or the Iron Throne and Dawn has its own prince, and it kind of like, oh, okay, I kind of put two and two together. Yeah, okay, there's 7 kingdoms, and Dawn's part of the 7 kingdoms. And I figured that out when it came into play when Doran said we want Tristan to be on the small council. I thought they were completely different.
Yeah. Well, I guess you know Dawn's one of my favourite characters because I love their whole unbowed, unbeaten, unbroken house motto. I think it's a great house motto, like pretty much like your boss mode. So okay, so there's one other, I think, one or two other parties at play. So I think the other major one is Peter Baelish. So the last time we saw Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, he was talking to Cersei. He was like, I'll make this deal with you. I know where Sansa Stark is. Maybe Warden of the North. The Knights of the area are the best. Combat
battle-tested
soldiers.
Land.
And I don't know where he's travelled back to. Like, has he gone back to the area to get troops? Is he on his way back to Winterfell? What?
Look, you don't know, because whatever he said he was going to do, who knows what he's actually doing, right?
That's right.
So, Peter Baelish, there's a potential Peter Baelish to turn up and turn the tide somewhere, whether that be on the side of Lannisters, at Winterfell, on the side of Roose Bolton. He could be routing Stannis from behind, or he could be reinforcing Stannis and taking Winterfell. Because you know, he set up that whole marriage. He was very specific in why he wanted to put Sansa Stark in play on the chessboard, so to speak, at Winterfell. And I wonder if it's kind of like to hedge a bet and curry favour, and he could pop up anywhere.
Peter Baelish plays to win.
Yeah.
So he's only going to back the winning horse, and I think he's been the smartest player of the game so far.
Yep.
So the other character which we've only sort of like briefly seen, I guess, in this season is Brienne of Tarth. So we kind of, you know, see her keeping vigil over Winterfell. Brooding.
Yeah.
Didn't
see it this episode, did we? No.
No, but could we see her? I think she's got a role to play in this end of season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So she's been sort of treading water for the last couple of episodes. I think if the battle starts, we're going to see Brienne of Tarth, no doubt.
I think what's going to be interesting with that battle, though, is where Brienne of Tarth's loyalties lie. So Brienne of Tarth originally saw an oath to Renly Baratheon.
Yeah.
And as Stannis turns up, like, how's Stannis going to feel about her and where her oath and loyalty is to? And obviously Melisandre's smoke baby killed Renly. I think there's
like her shadow baby with the face of Stannis Baratheon. So remember, Brienne of Tarth was devoted to Renly Baratheon.
Definitely.
And she knows that demon had the face of Stannis Baratheon, and he's responsible.
I don't know that. Is that a book thing?
No, it's a TV series thing.
Really?
Yeah, so I think if you remember, Cersei hit her up at Joffrey's wedding and said, you know, first of all, you're with this guy, and you swore an oath to this guy, and like, oh, tell me who killed? Oh, was it? No, it was Peter Baelish. Sorry. Peter Baelish saying, basically ripped her credibility apart. Like, oh, so first of all you swore an oath to Renly, now you swore an oath to Joffrey, and then you swore an oath to Catelyn. They're all dead. Like, who are you swearing oaths to, and why? And you know, he ripped her apart and said, and made her basically say it was a shadow demon with the face of Stannis Baratheon.
Yeah, definitely. I think regardless of where this next episode ends, which I believe is going to be about a 55-minute episode, so not as long as some of the other final episodes we've had in Game of Thrones, but still with 55 minutes a good length. A lot to get through, so I think they're either going to power through some of the content or some of the things are going to be left to the next season.
Yeah.
Either way, I think I'm ready to actually go back to Game of Thrones from episode 1. I'm going to do the whole thing again.
Really?
I'm ready.
Really?
I'm ready.
Season 1, episode 1?
Season 1, episode 1, I'm going to watch it all.
Well, look, I think if you started now, you'd probably finish in time for Game of Thrones season 6, right?
No way, man. It's only like, 5 seasons? It's like 50 hours of content.
Yeah.
That's like,
not a long time. And I think this is the problem is I really don't want to wait a year to see another Game of Thrones season start up. It's a long time between drinks, right?
I feel like this every time Game of Thrones comes on end, I'm like, oh, it's too long. Like I can't wait that long, and it's tough. And I think it's because you know what I appreciate about Game of Thrones is let's give you generally 10 awesome episodes as opposed to I'm going to give you 24 episodes where 12 of them are good.
And the others are fillers.
The others are rubbish. Yeah, so I appreciate that it's good, but we've had 10 good episodes, but I feel like I could just do with maybe another
15,
even 12. Like I feel like
another couple, right?
Just a couple more because I feel
What
like
if the finale? What if the finale was 2 or 3 hours? Maybe not 3. Maybe. What if the finale was 2 hours? Right.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would have a lot of time to wrap stuff up.
Definitely.
I think you're right. I think there's going to be things that get missed out. So some of the predictions or things we've hoped to see, some of them simply aren't going to happen.
I think they're too big to get it all in.
Yeah. So maybe the Battle of Winterfell doesn't actually finish.
Yeah.
Maybe it just starts. Like maybe it's just the episode finishes with the siege engines throwing some boulders over the fence and then it dramatically closes.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see Cersei doing the Walk of Shame. I absolutely think of that.
Definitely.
We are.
Definitely.
I think we're going to see Meryn Trant clutching his neck
definitely.
and dying a horrible death. Fingers crossed. The other stuff, like I don't think we're going to see much of Dany. Prediction. Don't think we're going to see much of Dany.
I think you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if they're sort of like Dany's thrown off a new dragon, and I think those other guys might be like, where the hell's she gone?
I think that's I think that's them finishing her arc for the series. I totally could be wrong, right? But that's her triumph of like, oh, I'm a dragon, I can fly him.
Yeah. If I was you, just on a side note, do you know, I would have gone straight up to where I saw my other dragons, get that boulder shifted, got my other 2 dragons, come back and burnt down the Sons of Harpy Mars store and all those other Sons of Harpy members.
She's got to close that store, right?
She's got to close that store.
It's like the Briscoes lady. Sons of Harpy Mars, always on
half price. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so God, we'll be reviewing this next episode, obviously.
Absolutely.
No doubt we're going to have probably more questions than answers, but so much to talk about.
Yep.
I'm expecting another great episode and probably a few shocks and surprises along the way.
Look, it wouldn't be Game of Thrones without it. I'm sure that half the predictions or things that we'd like to see won't happen or will just be completely on their head and we'll be like, oh my God, what crazy fools we were. Ramsay Bolton betraying his father. What an idiot.
Exactly. Reek's a dragon.
Reek's a dragon. But, once again, Game of Thrones is delivered and delivered hard.
Yeah.
2 great episodes in a row. Let's make it 3 and a fantastic one to finish off.
Definitely. So, just a little plug, if you haven't watched our other episodes, we're actually giving away a May loot crate this month.
That's right, yeah.
So you need to go back and watch our May unboxing of the loot crate.
Yep. So that's up on our YouTube channel. And if you're on Twitter, check us out at 2playerco-op. That's 2playerco_op. And we've been plugging that there as well. So what you need to do if you want to win your own May loot crate is to watch the episode. There's a question asked in that episode. You need to put the answer to that question in the comments section of the video and also subscribe. So don't forget to do that. You'll be in the draw to win a fantastic loot crate.
Exactly. And so make sure you obviously follow us on Twitter. I am Daniel_Whiting. You're Dealer Brizzo on Twitter, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks very much.